welcome to you. You're listening to The Music Business Buddy with me, Johnny Amos, podcasting out of Birmingham in England. I'm the author of the book, The Music Business for Music Creators, available in hardback, paperback and ebook format. I'm a music creator with a variety of credits. I'm a consultant, an artist manager and a senior lecturer in both music business and music creation. Wherever you are and whatever you do, consider yourself welcome to this podcast and to a part of the community around it. I'm here to try and educate and inspire music creators from all over the world in their quest to achieving their goals by gaining a greater understanding of the business of music. Okay, so in this week's episode, I am talking about the creator economy and also how the landscape has kind of shifted a little bit, even just throughout this decade that we're in so far. So let's just start off real simple by defining what the creator economy is, if it is a fairly new term for you. The creator economy is a digital ecosystem where individuals monetize their content, skills and creativity to earn income. So we're talking about places like Substack and TikTok, YouTube, etc. Now, in some of the recent episodes, we've also explored the concept of decentralization through Web3 forms, right? So the idea of kind of, building a following and then moving it into something which is decentralized, right? So if we just kind of like park it there for a moment while we think about this, because if the ideal growth pattern for digital creators and music creators is to build something through platforms and then move people away from those platforms, surely that is the blueprint to be able to then decentralize. That's probably another question for another day. But until then, what we're looking at is the creator economy and trying to get a better understanding of it, because I have witnessed a few conflicts in this area, right? Let's start with this. Do you remember the role of social media influencers? Now, when I say do you remember, it feels like the present moment that we're in, where we are in a world of social media influencers. I would argue that that is something which has dramatically started to shift. Now, I evidence this by something that I read recently that really captured my imagination. It was an article written by the team at South by Southwest London. For anybody that doesn't know, South by Southwest London debuted this year, and it created a lot of very healthy, critical debate, which kind of spawned into various articles that they published into something called the Changemaker Report. It was actually published by South by Southwest themselves, and I read it and I thought it was absolutely outstanding. There was one particular piece in there which links to the previous point I just made. Let me share it with you. Thought Starter 8, redefining influence and authority. Credibility shifts as audiences seek out new voices of authority. I read this and I thought, wow, this is really starting to kind of change the landscape of what all of this what it means to influence. So it says here, I'm just going to read this. With the next generation adopting authentic DIY content, the creator economy continues to swell, boosted by platforms including YouTube. Furthermore, in an AI age, polished content is likely to be questioned in terms of its authenticity, with viewers gauging lo-fi content as more credible. Okay, now that is a very, very, very interesting thought. The speakers on this particular panel also explored ideas such as the younger generation's preference for content that doesn't look like TV. Now, I'm just going to pause there for a minute and share a thought with you. Just a few weeks ago, I attended a television and media event. I'm not in that world, but I like to learn more about it. I like to understand what programs are in development and what's being worked on and how they do it and all that kind of stuff. It just feeds into a greater understanding of how the creative industries connect with one another, right? And I sat there and I thought, this is all very, very interesting, but it all feels a little bit kind of out of date somehow. I hate to say that. I wish I wasn't saying that, but it did. It felt a little bit like this is how things were done 20 years ago in terms of like legacy television, right? So if I just leave that thought with you and I share this with you from the same Changemaker Report. Legacy TV production's place in the era of the creator economy. As YouTube and other social video platforms increasingly become the playground for creators, the role of TV production is coming under scrutiny, with talent now being able to create and produce their own content. Therefore, creators are moving into the executive producer role. Major streamers are already talking directly to content creators who have proven concepts on platforms such as YouTube, with the likes of Sidemen and other creators moving more into the executive producer role rather than necessarily being simply on-screen talent. Now, that seems to me to mirror perhaps the evolution of how things worked in television and film. Okay, let's bring it back to music for a minute, because a lot of these thoughts that were coming to my mind triggered a memory that I had from episode 38, where I was talking to Mimi Kamara about the deals that she structures and brokers on behalf of artists with labels. This is something that she said that came into my mind.
If I'm comparing 2025 to 2020, the deals are more financially conservative. I will say that. I think that at the advent of the TikTok boom, the contracts that were coming out were 7 and 8 figure deals, and the proposals would just be out the door before artists even had an opportunity to sit with any of the executives at the label side.
Okay, so in that particular moment, Mimi and I were talking about the typical kind of things that she sees when structuring and negotiating deals on behalf of artists, right? But there's actually another kind of inference that we can build when we link it to the points that I've been talking about in this episode so far. It is perhaps, therefore, a suggestion that we are now past the boom age of influencing as we move into the creator economy. And really the difference there is between, we all know that we've seen influencers on social media that don't carry the same amount of influence that they used to. I've seen many artists and labels as well spending money on, pushing something through influencers. It might be that we are perhaps starting to peak past that. That certainly falls in line with what Mimi was talking about there. Also, what is the role here of labels? Do they wish to get involved with the future of artists' careers outside of their music? This is also something that Mimi talked about.
Labels are really making more of an effort to sit down and have these kind of dialogues before even drawing up an idea of what a contract could be. I think this is for the good, because we're talking about building a sustainable business as opposed to pacing a TikTok trend.
Okay, so perhaps this change and this movement away from the moment of instantaneous kind of thinking means that we are starting to see a shift towards more long form thinking and also more long form content. Let me just skip back to the South by Southwest Changemaker Report and share this thought with you. Munya Chihuahua discussed the transition that he and many creators are making from short-form content to longer-form narratives. Now, bear in mind that Munya Chihuahua, what a great name, by the way. That's his real name, from what I gather. He's an actor, he's a comedian, he's a rapper, right? So just park that thought there for a minute and let's go back to Mimi again as I connect another thought together.
I feel now that you're not looking at artists as a commodity anymore, and you're really trying to see where we're going to go in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years.
Okay, so if that means then a move to slightly more long form storytelling, is that then reflected in longer form content rather than the short form content, right? But also we've got this kind of dual skill set between, let's say, an artist who's also sitting inside of the creator economy outside of music. So let's get some more thoughts on that.
A lot of people are now being more proactive about what the other ancillary income streams are, and not relying just on that big hefty one-time advance that might be the only money you get from the label for the next 3 to 5 years, and figuring out, well, what else am I going to do to grow my brand and to have income coming along?
Okay, so to have income come along, it's a very, very important point here, isn't it? I know this, it's not all about money and all that kind of stuff, but, to make a living as a music creator is a very, very important goal for so many, many people. So, and the answers, sadly, are not in streaming. That's the grown-up truth. We know that. What came before streaming was piracy, and that was far worse. At least in streaming, we have something that recognises intellectual property and works to remunerate it. However, unless you're in the absolutely upper echelons of millions and millions of streams, you're not really going to make a living out of it, right? So it is important, therefore, to think about that brand extension, and also in terms of how music is being licensed. And that there is a trigger point into this subject matter. Let's just hear a little bit more from Mimi on this.
I have clients who are very active in non-musical content on YouTube while pursuing their musical careers, as reality TV has also kind of shrunken in the last 5 years.
Okay, so we started to see that in the UK, a little while back, where reality TV started to shrink a little bit. It certainly started to happen more so in America now. So then, is this the age where the younger audience moves away from television into something that doesn't look like television, just like what we read in the Changemaker Report? So what does Mimi say about that?
Content is being just on YouTube and people are watching it.
Okay, so if there's any music creators out there thinking, oh God, what else do I have to do? I just want to do music. That's okay. You just have to be creative, don't you? If you are to fit into this creator economy and to take on and absorb some of these ideas, and by the way, you don't have to. Nobody has to. You don't have to do you can do whatever you like. But if you are considering this, then it would be useful, therefore, to get some ideas as to the kind of things that people are doing. So we've looked at the example of Munya Chihuahua there from the Changemaker Report from Southwest London. But what other options are there for music creators? Let's see what Mimi says to this.
YouTube shows where people are cooking, shopping, just giving a video diary about their day.
Okay, so this now falls in line completely with what we've been learning in recent episodes about decentralization and fan engagement. But let's just talk, about numbers for a minute, and that's okay. This is a business show, right? So let's talk a little bit about numbers. What can people expect to earn as a YouTuber in the creator economy?
They're having 6 to 7 figure income streams on that non-musical YouTube content and paralleling that with their record deals.
Okay, so we're starting to get to some interesting truths here about this paralleling that Mimi talks about. The idea of going, that's my music there, and that's my entity as a creator over there in the creator economy. And actually, there is a difference. Now, there doesn't have to be. It may well be that we start to see deals structured by some of the major conglomerates, by indie record companies that say, actually, we want to kind of go 360. We've done 360 deals before. We know that didn't really work out the way that a lot of people wanted it to. But what we do know is that there is far more income connected to music outside of music. And that is the age that we're in right now within the creator economy. That is, if we don't just split them out, which is something that actually Mimi encourages with her artists. Now, let's just go back to the Changemaker Report. I want to share something else with you. Young audiences reject inauthentic content. So creator content is set to soar in popularity as younger generations, already deeply skeptical of AI-generated content, reject overly produced shows in favour of a more DIY approach. So this in turn is set to have a dramatic impact on what is currently being viewed as premium content. I know there's a lot of information here, by the way, everybody. I'm just trying to chuck a few ideas at you to see what you think about all this. New ecosystems are set to evolve, right? This is another aspect of that same chapter. Discussing the Africa-facing side of his business, Idris Elba outlined a vision to support African creators through a blockchain financial platform specifically for Africa's creative industries. His ambition is to create a new ecosystem designed to support creators from the region at the start of their production journey, as well as those looking through to marketing to global partners. Now, that exactly exactly falls in line with what Matt Jones from Medallion was talking about recently on the podcast. It also falls in line very much with what Ryan Ouyang, CEO of IYK, was saying recently. This is a Web3 movement, everybody, towards this new creator economy. Success measurements need a rethink. This is another point. In his keynote, From Vanity to Value, Genuine Influence and the Creator Economy's New Era, Stevie Johnson, Managing Director of Disrupt, implored the industry to embrace new success measurements as the creator economy evolves, looking beyond reach and followers as currency. This was a sentiment that recurred at South by Southwest London, with a measurable outcomes of creator partnerships being scrutinised and brands implored to look beyond what they refer to as vanity metrics. This goes right back towards what Mimi was referring to earlier when she said that the shift or the influence around 2020, 2021 on TikTok is not what it once was, and it's not as investable as we thought it might have been. Okay, so towards the end of that particular section of the Changemaker Report by Southwest London, it says questions to consider. Will you diversify the platforms and formats that you use, in order to stay agile and resilient in the changing, creator economy? How will you encourage risk and experimentation? So create and adapt current formats to embrace a more DIY approach. Are you ready to provide tailored support for talent? Will you champion fair play? How much are you willing to empower creators? Remember that the creative people respond to creative freedom, right? So loosening the leash and getting better partnerships. There's a lot to think about there, everybody. So that's just a little snapshot view, really, of the creator economy, what we've learned from South by Southwest London. I must credit them there for their outstanding Changemaker report. I really enjoyed reading it. That had a lot of substance to it. And the other overriding thought to come out of this is just to think about how you want to position yourself as a music creator, right? Music is the thing that defines you, isn't it? That's why you're listening to me in this very, very moment, because you create music and you want it to define your legacy. And I can't think of a single reason in the world as to why that can't happen. It just might mean that you have to think about the other things that connect you as a person to other people and how you monetize that through creative thinking. Okay, that's enough from me today. Left you with a few things to marinate in your mind. Don't overthink about it, everybody. Sometimes the answers are glaringly simple once we've had time to kind of go over some of the complexities. Anyway, I will leave you to it. Wish you a great day, and until next time, may the force be with you.